I would imagine probably the Commandant. But they said, well, Lieutenant, you take them in. And of course, one response, yes, sir. So I prided myself as being a junior George Patton at that time. I had an ivory-handled .45. I took my .45 out and then handed it to the sergeant that was there, because we could not enter East Berlin with a weapon.
Oh.
So here I go with my flak vest on and my helmet and all this kind of stuff, and walk up to the car, and they roll the window down and it says, "Are you being detained?" And they said, "Yes, they won't let us go." I said, "Well, move over." And at that, I got into the car and drove into East Berlin, drove around and brought them back out. So we were theoretically demonstrating our guaranteed right of access to East Berlin. I'm sure that those 4 teachers learned a lesson that night that they'll never forget. I certainly did. It was also, of course, during this time that the Cuban Missile Crisis came up. And once again, I have to remind you that we were 9,500 troops surrounded by the Russians and East Germans. And it was really a very, very ticklish situation because we knew that, you know, we were just an ink spot on the blotter, and we would have been written off completely. We were in constant contact back to West Germany. I remember one night, I happened to have been on duty, and I had been since transferred to the staff of the U.S. Commandant of West Berlin. And they called me down. I also had been promoted to captain by this time. And I said, "Captain, General Clay's on the phone." Well, General Clay was 4-star retired, 4-star general, and he was in West Germany. So I went down into the sub-basement of the headquarters there that coincidentally had been a Luftwaffe headquarters building, beautiful building, and got on the KY-9 to General Clay, KY-9 being a completely lead-encased cable that went out to West Germany. And we talked about a situation. I can't remember what we talked about. Obviously, it wasn't idle chatter, but you certainly got to realize that you were the focal point of the world at that time. Mm-hmm. And because of my experiences there, and having been on the staff of the Commandant, I was in the Public Affairs, Public Information Office, and dealing with the West Berlin press. And that was a very, very interesting experience. We probably had about 160, 175 accredited correspondents that we were dealing with at all times. And very often you were caught in a what conceivably could be an international incident. And I'm thinking at one point in time where they had stopped a convoy, one of our convoys going out to West Germany, and it held them up for 18 hours. And my boss, Colonel Lou Broad, said, "Captain, get your driver, get all your gear, you're going to Helmstedt." Helmstedt was at 120 miles away at the other end of the Autobahn. So sure enough, Specialist Draper and I drove out past this convoy that had been delayed, was being held up. And we got up to Helmstedt, and there we had a little headquarters put together. It was quite interesting to me because my boss there was a full British colonel, of really the old school. And it was hard for me I bunked with the colonel, and it was hard for me to get used to his striker coming in the morning and serving us tea. But it was kind of touch and go there for a couple of days because we didn't know